Hello and welcome to the live stream of Time Bandit in 10. My name is Michael Cups, and we're here to talk about time-saving tips to give you some, anyone that's listening and anyone that watches the recording, just some tips from various professionals around the globe. And today I'm very excited to have Patrick Cleary with me. And Patrick, why don't we start with an introduction?
Hi, my name is Patrick Cleary. I am a knowledge manager from the Boston area, Boston, Massachusetts. I've been in knowledge management for about 20 years. I've worked in the consulting, management consulting field, family consulting, email marketing, sports gambling, and most recently, retail banking.
Very good. Quite a
Mhm.
wide spectrum there, and knowledge management across that. You must know a lot.
Well, I pretend, yeah.
Well, very good. Thank you for joining us, and I also appreciate. I think you read Tam Bannon. You gave a review. Very, very kind of you. Thank you so much for that. Hope it was helpful for you. But what we do is we start off with two basic questions, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about those as we go along. And
Okay.
the idea for the audience is that we can wrap this up in right around 10 minutes or so. So it's a quick tip, if you will, to save time. So Patrick, let's start with what is a time waster that just drives you crazy?
I think anything to do with paperwork surrounding, I've been a manager of people for most of my career, and a lot of things like review or career development, often revolve around a lot of extra steps just to report on what's doing that. And I find that that's one of those things that fall into my time wasting bucket quite a bit.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
they can just get out of hand really quickly.
Yeah. So how do you do those? Do you just try to time block them and get them done and as quickly as possible?
Yeah, that's the main thing, is making sure that there's actual scheduled time on my calendar with reminders,
Yeah.
and then also having an exit time for each one of those as well, because you can get really bogged down in a task if it's not complete.
That's a great tip. Making sure that you have a time to allocate it and the exit time,
Yeah.
because you're right. People, when you do get sunk into a time waster, sometimes you spend way too much time on that wasted time. So, very good. So let's start with the next one, a more positive approach to it. What is your favorite time saving tip or time management tip?
I really do think that a series of reminders. I think that a lot of times we tend to allow, like, I live and die by my Outlook and Google calendars,
Mhm.
and I find myself, if I rely just on the automated reminder for a meeting starting, or you know, it's dependent on who has set that. So if their schedule is it reminds you 5 minutes before the meeting, I need to be reminded a half hour before the meeting. I also like reminders of what's coming up next, even if that's free time for myself. So my phone yells at me all day long. I think that the invention of mobile phones has been a bane, and then also a real help for me, which is just
Yeah.
my phone tells me what I'm doing next, and I go do that.
Yeah.
So I think that being able to set up things for yourself. I am also someone who has ADHD. So for me, it's also always making sure that everything I have is in a spot, whether digitally or like even with my keys and wallet and my phone, they're always in the same spot. And I do that digitally as well, which is also something as a knowledge manager, is like knowing where things are is half the battle.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good point. I want to ask you about that, but let's go back to your calendars and your alerts that you mentioned. Just
Mhm.
curious, do you integrate the two alert systems, or do you kind of keep them separate? Do you have your personal is Google and your other one is Outlook for work, or how do you manage both of them?
I do keep them separate just because I really don't like to cross the streams when it comes to personal materials and work materials. And I think that that's also just coming from the knowledge management space. I try to keep like all of my personal stuff off of work computers, off of a work cell phone, etc. The
Yep.
alerts all just come in the same way. So I have alerts that come from, say, Google Mail, Google Calendar, for personal use. And if I'm in a company that uses Google as well, will come through both my laptop or whatever system I'm on and my phone. And then the same with all of my personal stuff as well. So it seems integrated to me, but I try never to cross the two streams, because I think that another big time waster is when somebody's exiting a project or a company, is the frantic
Yeah.
rush to remove all of your personal stuff from your computers.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. That is it. And schedules. It's interesting that I think people struggle with. It sounds like you've got a good system, and you manage to it, and you're meticulous about it. I think some people get lost because they have so many calendars. They might have a calendar in their Google and Outlook, but they also may have a written calendar where they're marking down the things they need to do with family, or maybe they're pursuing a marathon or something like that. And I think that sometimes gets overwhelming for some people, and just having a system for it is all you need. It doesn't have to be all in one place, but as long as you have a system to manage that.
Somebody I worked with said that if you are running out of colors off of Roy G. Biv on your calendars, then you have too many calendars,
Yeah.
right? So if you're starting to get into teal and light blue and purple and pink, you probably could consolidate a few calendars.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you don't mind me asking a little bit about your career in knowledge management, you mentioned it a little bit before in the introduction. I'm curious, when you think about knowledge management, there's content creators and the knowledge management system that houses that or displays. I'm not sure the right term for there. You probably know, distribution or something. And then you have the consumers of knowledge management. What time management techniques do you apply towards the content creators? Let's start there.
Definitely letting content creators tell you what they're creating right up front. I think that I think we've been trained by college, by writing essays to try to hide bury the lead somewhere deep within like a really chewy paragraph somewhere in the middle of whatever you're writing. But starting off with, I'm writing this document, I'm putting this piece of content here because you want to do X, Y, or Z. Here are the people who would like to see it. Here's what's going to be outlined in it. And then maybe a table of contents after that. Yeah. I think that's the number one thing that can help content creators reach their audience. And that can even go down to the level of your document names, right? I think that in an age of where we're all preparing for AI, we're all preparing for systems that are using natural language, we forget that if you name a presentation 3 v5 final.pptx, nobody's going to find it. So just letting people know what something is and how they're going to use it, it even helps to train all of those AI bots that we're trying to prepare our future for as well.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And how do you prioritize what your team works on next? I mean, certainly you're getting a lot of requests for certain knowledge criteria and elements. How do you prioritize that? What kind of mechanisms do you use?
One of the things that I think is undervalued for anybody who's working behind the scenes is keeping up to date on what's happening with whatever company you're in. So a lot of times I have found that technical writers won't keep up with the company news, maybe won't talk to marketing if they're writing internal documentation, or if they're writing external documentation, they won't talk with, say, the software engineers. So knowing what's coming next, or knowing what's in the news that may be an emergency that's coming up. Like I said, I've been in the sports betting industry. If a brand new state is going to legalize gambling, we have to know that, and then you have to know all the documentation around, say Massachusetts has for laws that are on the books, and we want to preload all of that. So keeping up to date on the news, and actually going back to time management, giving yourself the time to go through news, go through your company resources, and actually do a lot of outreach, even if you're not someone who might be someone who thinks that they're integrating with a lot of people, to integrate with as many different roles within a company as possible to see what's coming down the pike, so that you're not working on something that suddenly is deprioritized or not prioritized at all.
Yeah. Okay. And that's perfect. That's great. And that's interesting. I think you're right. It's a spot on. When you said it, it sounded so obvious, but it doesn't happen. Are you in touch? Are you reading the news? What's the latest things and things like that? That's awesome. So let's talk about people that are consuming that knowledge or need to see. It seems like people put it off and procrastinate heavily when they're required to go learn something new or refresh. I think in my inbox now, and it just hit yesterday, so I still have time. We have anti-bribery courses we have to take. So what's your advice to people that need to consume that knowledge?
It's been shown in study after study that most people will click on the first or second link that they see when they're looking for anything. And you and I are both of the age where we understand the concept of above and below the fold, which is like, there used to be these things called newspapers that were actually written on paper, and the paper was folded in half, and anything underneath that fold would be something that wasn't as newsworthy. I find that if you can let people know, one, you can go beyond the first page, even the first couple of links, but the first page of whatever results you're looking for to find what you're actually looking for. And then also Google has very much trained us to speak very, very succinctly, because it will start to anticipate what you're writing. Learn what Boolean searches are, because they're still valid. So putting in and, not, all of that, and then putting in as long a phrase as you feel comfortable with for the search terms you're looking for. Because I find even in my personal life, when someone's saying, oh, I found a recipe, and I can't remember exactly what it was for, say caramel, biscuits. And they'll say, I know it had this one ingredient, but they won't put that one ingredient in search results. It's like, find what's unique and then work backwards from the most unique part of your search, or work backwards from whatever you're looking for. And also, like I said, people who are creating content need to be trained to put what's necessary at the top of an article. Read a little bit further, or just Control F. Try to find what you're looking for on the page, and that can lead to the content that you're looking for as well.
Oh, that's great. That's great advice. Yeah, very good. Well, we're just about to the end of the 10 minutes. I don't see any questions for us, and I hope the stream is working well. If there are questions, I just want to say that we'll answer them, and subsequently within LinkedIn and Facebook, etc. Patrick, so good to see you. I know we worked together probably a decade ago, but we won't say that out loud too many times. It's really great to see you. I hope to see some of that acrylic painting soon. Any final comments, or if somebody wanted to catch up with you, is it LinkedIn the best place?
Sure, LinkedIn. I'm at LinkedIn. My profile is Patrick James Cleary. I'm there. Or if you want to follow me on any other social media, it's an old handle from back when you didn't use your real name on the internet. It's XINGCAT. It's like cat crossing, like a cat crossing the street, just backwards. So you can find me on that on Twitter, which is now X, Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, if you're interested in my paintings, those kinds of things.
Oh, I'll find you on Instagram for sure then. That's great.
Perfect.
Patrick, great to see you. Have a wonderful time off, hopefully the rest of this month, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks very much,
so much
Michael.
for participating.
All right. Bye-bye.